Hey creative friends, welcome to my channel, and here we are. I have talked about doing this video so many times and I am finally actually doing it. It's a video of what I learned when I called to ask a couple of questions about the steam canner. I actually contacted the company that makes this canner because I had some people asking me questions about why you can't use this canner to fill it with more water and use it to steam canner for longer than the 45 minutes that are recommended. But there's two kinds of steam canners, and actually there's one, this is a dual use canner, so it can steam can, but it also can be a boil water canner. But the other one is I can show you kind of a picture. The base of it is shorter, and it has more of a dome lid that goes on the top. And I have one of those, but I went to find it, and I think I loaned it to somebody, and I've never got it back. So this is a shout out. If you borrowed my steam canner and you need to get it back to me, let me know, because I would like it. But anyway, that happens to me though. I loan stuff out and then I can never remember. I need to like make a log because I loan a lot of stuff out. But anyway, so steam canning is awesome. There's some real benefits to steam canning. One of them is that they use way less water. So like me, I don't like to have to lift the heavy, and it's also, when it's a boil water canner, it's filled with all that hot water. I don't like that. So that's one of the reasons why I like my electric boil water canner, because I can set it right over by the sink. But if you don't have one of those, you have to lift this, and it can be really heavy, and if the water's hot, it can be dangerous. So that eliminates the heat, the heavy, and it's also not as heavy on your stove. So when you have a lot of weight on your stove, over a period of time, if you put, like this happened to me, I put my skillet on my stove, and I noticed like the oil would kind of all go to one side because the stove eventually kind of wears down. So what I do, I'll show you, hold on. Okay, I wanted to get these for you. So I got these white tiles. I got a bunch of them. And actually what I do is I lift the top of my stove up, and I did a video on this a long time ago, but just in case you're doing a lot of canning and you want to protect your element top stove from kind of dipping, becoming a little bit warm, because they don't have a lot of support in the center between the four burners. So I will take these and put them in there and stack them to where I close the top of the stove and it's supported. And ever since I've done that, I've never had a stove that has that dip in it, so that's kind of handy. And that can happen when you've got something real heavy like a boil water canner. So that's the thing. Also, steam canning doesn't heat the kitchen up as much because it's not just sitting there boiling for a really long time. So that's kind of handy. It also uses significantly less water because you're only going to fill this at the base, and like on this style you only fill the bottom of the canner. So it's like 2.5 quarts of water is all it takes. So that's kind of handy. And also, because you know you don't have such a big thing to set in your sink and fill, it's easier to fill. So that's kind of cool. And also because there's less water, it doesn't take as long to get to the 212 degrees that it needs to be, so it uses less energy and it saves you time. So those are some of the benefits. Now the reason I'm doing this video is because people have asked me why I can't, because, well, one of the, I guess, drawbacks of steam canning is that because there's such a small amount of water, you can't process a boil water. Anything that's a boil water canned food can be done in a steam canner. But the steam canner has far less water, so it can only boil for so long before it boils dry. So the recommendation is 45 minutes. I like to go with 40, but you do not want to process food in a steam canner more than 45 minutes. Okay, so the reason also is that there's not a whole lot of foods that go for more than 45 minutes, but the question was, how come I can't put more water in here and just let it process for those longer items? My opinion is usually the things that are over 45 minutes, they're tomato-based things that generally go for like 85 minutes. So I don't know who wants to stand around and have something boiling in their kitchen for 85 minutes. To me, that's like almost an hour and a half of just something boiling and generating steam, and it's icky. So if you have a pressure canner, the things that go in a boil water canner for that length of time should really be done in a pressure canner anyway. So it just makes sense to me. So anyway, when someone asked me how come they can't do that, I actually contacted the company and I wanted to know. and they told me that they just have not done any testing on foods over 45 minutes. And if you think about it, when she was saying when you put the jars in, that length of time will also, if it's a boil water canned item for 85 minutes, it'll boil down the water, so you have to worry about that. But with this, it would have to fill so high that it just hasn't been tested for more than 45 minutes. So in the other style canner can't even hold enough water for it to be over 45 minutes. So if you think about it, then they would have to write directions for based on what style of steam canner you have. Like if you have this one, you could do more. If you have that one, you can't. So it's just easier to say across the board, atmospheric steam canning should only be done for no more than 45 minutes. So when I called, I did get some other cool information. So this one, like I said, this is the dual purpose canner, and always read your instructions. They will give you details of how to make sure it's up to pressure, or up to the steam has got to the right temperature and things like that. And I will put a link. I actually found there's a bunch of extension offices that have guidelines. So I'll put a link to this one that I happen to pop out. This one's from Michigan State University. So I will put a link to this so that you can refer to it. It's got some really good stuff. But the thing I really wanted to share was on these steam canners, there's like a dial, kind of a gaugey thing. See that? Let's see, I want to get good light. So see that and how it's got the colors? So it'll say altitude based on the colors. So my altitude is zone 1. It's the blue one. And so zone 1, as soon as my little dial gets around to that dark green area, that would be the area I look at. When you're at zone 2, it's that orange line, and when it hits that lighter green, that's when your temperature inside is correct. And then the yellow is from 6,000 to 9,000 feet. That's zone 3, and it goes to the lighter green. But what I want to share with you is this one says start timing when the needle reaches your zone's green area. The lady that I spoke to said actually what you do is when your needle gets to the zone green area, you need to wait for it to stop. So it'll just hit the green area. You don't start your timing yet. Wait for it to actually get into the green area and then stop. When it's not going up anymore, that's when you start your timing. And I thought that was important to share. So that's what I wanted to share about this cool dial top. And this is on this one, and then the other one that they make that's the other style also has this gauge. So it's kind of handy to have that. And I think that for someone who's steam canning, this is just kind of a good, it's a little bit of a security blanket for me, I think, when I'm steam canning. And you'll notice that this lid has no holes in it. And so you have to watch the directions for this, tells you how to watch the steam coming from around the edge. And it nestles right down into the top a little bit differently. And I like that also for this to be used as a boil water canner, because this sits down, and you know the old blue enamel ones, it sits on the top and the steam gets up there and then it drips out all over your stove. This one kind of nestles down into the neck of the bowl, or the pot, and so it doesn't do that. So I kind of like, see what I'm saying right there, how it does that? See, it fits right down in there, and I like that. So if you're in the market for a boil water canner, this is a handy one, and it doubles as a steam canner because it's got that cool little handle on the top. And always read your directions, and if you have any questions, you can always call a customer service line. So that's what I wanted to share with you about steam canning, and that was generated because I got asked so many times, if we're using this kind of canner, how come we can't just fill it with more water and let it process longer? And that's why. So I can imagine it would be difficult to say, if this one you can process longer, this one you can't this style you can't process longer, because there's clearly not enough space in that bottom thing to put enough water to be able to process. So it just keeps it uniform across the board. So that's that. And remember, if you got my other steam canner, let me know. I need it back. And that's it. So I hope this helped you, and I hope it helped kind of answer the question of why you can't use these to process in steam for longer than you can use the other style as well. So as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.